excited? I'm trying to pull up the chat on my giant pad here. Alright, looks like Faith is here. Hello. Are you guys excited? Hopefully some people show up. It'd be bad if no one showed up, right? It was just me hanging out by myself. But if you're watching the recording of this, I just wanted to say thank you for supporting the channel, and hopefully you can learn from everyone else's questions and be able to watch the next live Q&A. I do these like every couple of weeks. I try to do a live Q&A and say hi to you guys, answer some questions. Got some people showing up. The good pastors, Logan, Prisciliano, Sydney. Hi everybody. If you guys have any questions related to chameleons, drop them in the chat. I'll try to get to them. But since you guys showed up early, you get first dibs because eventually sorry, scoot my chair. The chat ends up getting pretty full. But I try to get to everyone's questions. But hi Sue. Hi Just Porgs. Carly My Chameleon says hello. I know quite a few the chameleons or chameleons named Carly. If you guys have a chameleon, you gotta drop down their name below. I've seen some interesting chameleon names. I've seen like a lot of food names like nacho, mango, quite a few guacamoles. How long have you had Neptune? Neptune's gotcha date is September 5th, and it will be 3 years this year since I've had Neptune. Hi Mike, how's it going? Can female chameleon lay eggs with regular dirt? So I would recommend using washed play sand. That's what I would recommend. Use washed play sand for a laying bin. Why does mine chameleon so long to grow to an adult? Just the same way as humans. Just be glad you don't have a Parsons chameleons, because those guys take forever to grow. Why is there so little info on fisher chameleons? So the thing is, unless they're commonly kept for many, many years, there's not going to be a lot of chameleon care information on different species. So that's the main reason why, but just try to use general guidelines of, misting schedules, supplement schedules, and even with like Christophers, right, the Parsons that Apollo and Luna are, there's not a lot of care information, but I just use my general knowledge that I have about chameleons, watch them like a hawk and learn their body language, and then I can make adjustments to their care as needed. But my chameleon's name is Jelly. That's cute. I haven't heard of Jelly chameleon. Roaches are her favorite. Roaches are very popular for a lot of chameleons. Neptune used to not like his roaches, but now he's starting to eat them again. So let's see. My chameleon's name is Krabby. Is that because they're a crabby chameleon? Can I get away without misting? I haven't misted my veiled Yoshi. He seems to be doing fine with a dropper only. So misting is for overall humidity as well as hydration. So if you're able to stay within 30 to 40% humidity for a veiled chameleon, then in theory, you don't necessarily need to be misting. I would still recommend it for other benefits such as hydration. But if their urids are looking good with just their dripper and their humidity levels are where they need to be, then I don't see why not. Pico, there you go. Is it Pico de Gallo? No. We got a Jack the Chameleon. Is it normal for chameleons to have an extra finger? No, but maybe if you guys didn't know, their finger groupings are different based off of their front feet and their back feet. So I believe their front feet are 3 on the outside, 2 in the inside, and then on their back feet it's 2 on the outside and 3 on the inside, or vice versa, but they're different from their front foot and their back foot, if you didn't know. What's a good online place to get a panther chameleon? I will shout out a few breeders. Frames Cams, Camouflage Creations, Surfing Oak Chameleons. Those are 3 where I've talked to the breeders and I know how they care for their chameleon, and I would confidently say that I would purchase chameleons from there. But do your research, read reviews, check out chameleon forums for people's experiences, and there's lots of great breeders, lots of them. Let's see, getting a baby in August. How long do I give him to get comfortable before trying to handle him? I would give them at least 2 weeks to don't even look at them, And then it kind of just depends on their fear response. For Neptune, I started working with him probably like 2 months after I got him, and it took a total of 5 months for him to finally come out on his own. But every chameleon is different, but at the very, very minimum, give them at least 2 weeks and work at your chameleon's pace. Be sure that you watch my video on tips and tricks for handling, taming a chameleon. What else we got? Are you a breeder? Not yet. And I say that because I'm actively trying to breed Apollo and Luna, my Christopher Parsons chameleons. I've been unsuccessful so far. If you guys don't know, Parsons are notoriously difficult to breed, and then the eggs take forever to incubate. I've talked to multiple Christopher breeders and Parsons breeders, and there's no secret sauce or secret science to it. Just kind of have to let it do its thing. So I've tried to introduce Apollo and Luna multiple times now. Apollo's been receptive, but Luna hasn't, so I just have to respect that, and I take her out of the enclosure and then wait a bit, and then, we try again. So I haven't really tried since I moved, because I've been just letting them get adjusted to their new environment, but I'm hoping maybe next week. We'll see. I'm trying, though. I'm trying. Do you have any tips for a chameleon that is going to lay eggs? I have a whole video on tips and tricks for egg laying. It's like over 20 minutes. There's a lot of information in that video, so definitely check it out. But off the top of my head, make sure you have a laying bin that's big enough. A lot of people put like a cup of dirt and we're like, look, I have a laying bin, but it needs to be at least 6 inches deep. Make sure you give her privacy, and then make sure that she has the correct UVB and supplements, because an unhealthy chameleon is going to have a really hard time laying eggs. And then additionally, make sure that your heat is no hotter than 80 degrees Fahrenheit and you're not overfeeding, because hot temperatures and lots of food mean lots of eggs. So the fewer eggs you can have her lay, the less stress that'll be on her body. So again, check out the video, but those are some tips. We had a cricket get loose in our house while we were feeding. I caught it in my room and almost jumped on me. Yeah, crickets are very unpredictable. Not my favorite. Can you get plants for chameleons cheap? Is that what I read? Yes. So if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or places like that, you can get plants. I did a video on me going to Home Depot, kind of going through the aisles of like, yes, no, these are the plants that I would recommend. So that's what I would do. Is it good to get a veiled chameleon from Petco? No. Reason being is they're not usually healthy and they're kept incorrectly. So I know lots of people who have purchased chameleons that actually already had metabolic bone disease because of how they were kept at places like Petco and PetSmart. Additionally, they typically have parasites or some sort of underlying health issues. And while they are cheaper, it's better to buy from a reputable breeder who has healthy genetics and is properly caring for the chameleon to give you the best chance possible of having a happy, healthy chameleon for a long time. So no. My humidity is too high in the day. Any advice? He's a veiled chameleon. So make sure you're only misting 2 times a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. There's no need to be misting during the day. Make sure you're only using your fogger at night. If you have a screen enclosure, that'll help lower the humidity. But then if none of that works, you can get a dehumidifier for the room, and that can help pull out some of the moisture in the air. Where is a good place online to get a panther chameleon? Okay, Logan, I'm going to give you one warning. Don't be spamming my chat with your question 12 times. I will get to it eventually, and that goes for everyone. Please be respectful. I do my best to get to all the questions. It does not help that you ask it 12 times. Where should humidity levels for veiled chameleons be? 30 to 40% during the day, and then 70% at night. Hello from the UK. Hi. I would try to pronounce your name, but I can't do that. So, hello. Nice to see you. Will you open a chameleon store in the future? Yeah, definitely not. That's a lot of work. If you guys don't know, I have like a full-time job, in addition to doing this is like a hobby of mine and a big passion of mine. But maybe one day, who knows how big Neptune the chameleon will be one day. But so far, we're going to stick to just a YouTube channel. Can you use an umbrella plant for a veiled chameleon? Yes, you can. They're notoriously difficult, actually. We're keeping alive in chameleon enclosures, umbrellas, and what's the other one? Money trees. While they're technically safe in theory, a good plant, they die easily. So best of luck. You may want to consider getting like what am I trying to say? an LED plant light, and maybe that'll help out your umbrella plant. But yeah, they're safe. They're just hard to keep alive. My 8-month-old chameleon was moved into a larger enclosure. Seems like ever since he seems more skittish. Doesn't even like to eat crickets out of my tongs anymore. So it may or may not be related. How long ago was that? 2 months ago? But make sure if you're moving them into a bigger enclosure that you're putting in more plants, more branches, and that they have lots of places to hide and feel safe. And recognize as chameleons get older, their personalities can change and their level of being scared or defensive will also change. So just give them time and just be mindful that their personality or comfort level with you may change. How do you hang plant pots in a glass enclosure? I don't actually have a glass enclosure, so I can't speak from personal experience, but just off the top of my head, you could do like spray foam on the sides and like put the plants in that way. That'd probably be the easiest way, assuming you have a big enough enclosure. What else could you do? Maybe like suction cups or super magnets, you know, like on either side of the glass. Maybe that could work. Or you can fixate branches and then attach potted plants to the branch. I don't know. Try those. See what happens. Hi from NJ. I'm assuming New Jersey. Hello. Is it normal for chameleons to want to eat your fingers? No. My chameleons have never tried to eat my fingers, so nope, hasn't happened. Are you open to opening a store for chameleon supplies? You know, I've given some thought to this whole chameleon supply thing, and like we know we have the Zoom Ed Chameleon Kit, which if you know anything about chameleon care or have seen any of my videos, you know is complete garbage. But no one has really done like a true chameleon kit where it actually has everything that you need, but then you're having to work with different vendors and suppliers, and like I don't even know how I would deal with like dealing with all that stock or being able to get it to you guys. So I did come up with an Amazon shopping list, so at least you can go through Amazon and like get probably like 90% of the things that you need. So I've done that. I think you can do like an Amazon kind of like shop thing where you have like a bunch of products in there. So I'm gonna try and see if I can set that up for you guys. But yeah, no. I mean, really, a chameleon supply store is a reptile supply store. You just have to know which supplies to get for a chameleon, you know? Do chameleons need a basking bulb on top of the heat bulb? Basking bulbs and heat bulbs are the same thing. So, one or the other. That's the same thing, just different names. How do you find local breeders? I'm going to suggest Google. I don't know how. Search on the internet? I don't know how else to help you out with that one. I bought my veil from Petco and it died instantly. It was sick. See? This is why we spend the extra money and the extra time to research and buy a healthy chameleon without underlying health issues. Now, that's not to say you won't buy from a breeder and they end up being a bad breeder, because that happens before. I've seen that a lot with like companies that sell wild-caught chameleons. Those chameleons last like 2 days. And then people DM me and they're like, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, how long did you have your chameleon? And they're like, 2 days. I'm like, that's not your fault. That's from the breeder. And then sure enough, they tell me the company. I'm like, yep, they're known to have wild-caught chameleons. And then those companies will like send them a new chameleon. Like, it's no biggie. Just like, oh, here's another one. Sorry yours died. But it's like they expect it to die, kind of. Which is why they like just send you a new one. No questions asked. Pretty bad. Okay. I rescued my chameleon from someone who bought them from Petco. Yeah, see? So, and one more thing. I'm going to go on a small rant here. With Petco and PetSmart, my biggest qualm is not so much that they sell animals. Like, that's one thing. But what makes it even worse is they don't even sell the right supplies. They don't sell enclosures big enough, and they don't sell T5 UVB bulbs. So even if you knew all the research and you knew everything about chameleons, and you go there, for whatever reason you buy from Petco, PetSmart, you can't even walk out of the store with the correct supplies. So they're just, like, you can't even be successful even if you wanted to. You're going to have to go online, buy the stuff. It's going to take days, if not weeks, to get it. And, like, you need some temporary enclosure for them in the meantime. Like, even if you knew what you were doing, like, you couldn't do it. So that's the part that bothers me, is they don't even sell the right stuff for the animal that they're selling, you know? It's like selling dogs without dog food. Like, what are you doing? Like, bad. Okay, anyways, I digress. I just rescued my veiled after I learned he lost a leg due to a rat attack from Petco. A rat attack? Jakes. Let's see. think his growth is stunted. Any special advice or tips? I mean, if he's lost a leg, just be very mindful of your branches and plants, and maybe like put a soft towel on the bottom in case he falls. It depends really how mobile he is, but I would just make sure your care is on point with correct UVB and supplements, and then just be mindful of like how your enclosure is built on the inside and his mobility. My 5-month-old is not eating like he did when he was younger. Any hints on how to get him to eat? So Sue, chameleons will eat less as they get older, so that could be it. They also will lose interest in bugs, so try different types of bugs and cup feeding and free ranging, and just try different ways. And I have a whole video on why isn't my chameleon eating full of tips and tricks, so I would suggest checking that out as well. Your videos are extremely helpful. Couldn't have done my setup without you. Thanks and congrats. Thanks, Mike. That's super nice of you. I appreciate it. Let's see. Hello, just got my chameleon a week ago. He's still almost black all the time. Is it because he needs to get used to his new home? And he wants to eat dubia roaches, but does not want to eat any kind of larvae. What do I have to do to get him to do that? So if they're only with you for a week, yes, they will be dark for a while. Yes, it's common for them not to eat. However, a very common mistake is people have super sparse enclosures with like a couple of sticks and maybe a plant or two. If your chameleon does not have places to hide and feel safe, they will be stressed out, which means they will be a darker color. Also keep in mind that chameleons change colors for a variety of reasons, and they're not going to be bright green the entire time. Keep in mind on social media, people are only posting the best of the best. Like, I'm not posting Neptune when he's looking blah or shedding or whatever. I'm going to post him when he looks super cool, just with like all social media. So keep in mind, don't be comparing your chameleon in its normal state to a chameleon that's fired up, because that's not a fair comparison. As far as not eating larvae, make sure there's tons of them in there, that they're moving around. And again, it might take a while for your chameleon to eat just because they're getting used to their new home. So be patient. My chameleon has one of the front limbs and extra fully developed fingers, so it's I don't know what you're saying. What? One of the front limbs and an extra fully developed finger. So it's a pair of 4 and 2 fingers. It sounds like a bit of a problem with her tongue. Tongue issues are typically related to supplements. So make sure you're using the correct supplement schedule for your chameleon. You didn't say what kind of chameleon you have, so I can't tell you what that would be. But yeah, typically tongue issues are related to supplements. Or it's a tongue injury, but no way for me to know that. My chameleon chewed one of his sticks the other day. Is that normal? Also, he has been pulling out his male parts, put them back in. I sometimes they chew on sticks. I wouldn't say this is like not normal. It happens, but it's not super common as far as like male part stuff like that. I mean, probably reaching sexual maturity if I had to guess. None of my male chameleons have done that, so I can't speak from personal experience, but I do know other chameleons have done that. Not super often though, I don't think, like once in a blue moon, but yeah, sorry, I can't give you a better answer. I got the chameleon kit when I first got my veil that stumbled upon your TikTok, and now she has all the proper supplies and is living a happy life, so thank you so much. You are so welcome. That's exactly why I made a TikTok account. I was a little hesitant to do it, but here we are. I am D. Hello. Do you know the signs of metabolic bone disease? Yes. Do you want to know what they are? No. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so common signs of MBD, the most popular one, is curved bones. So instead of an arm being like this, sharp bones, it'll be rounded. That's a common one. Casts will be a little floppy. Walking funny. Those are like the big ones. Then there's also like internal damages if they're hanging down by the enclosure at the bottom and unable to climb, if their eyes are closed. And then typically if I see that someone also has the improper UVB and is using the wrong supplements, then it's like a no-brainer that it's metabolic bone disease. How's the breeding of your Parson chameleons going? I talked about this a little bit earlier, and the short answer, not well. I'm trying, but it's a slow process. They haven't bred yet, so I've introduced them but Luna's not about it. So Apollo was like head bobbing, he was into it, but Luna was not feeling it. Can baby chameleons become overweight? Nope, they cannot. Have you seen the humidity in chameleon enclosures from Petco? I always see it at 10% and temperature at 70 degrees. Yeah, like nothing about Petco or PetSmart Care is correct. I have spent countless hours sitting in the store, talking to employees, trying to teach them, proper chameleon care, give them suggestions on how to fix their enclosures. Sorry, when I talk a lot like this, then my throat gets a little scratchy, so apologies. One time, we'll do a little story time. I was meeting my friend for dinner, and right across the street was Petco, and I got there a little bit early, so I was like, I'll just pop over to Petco, I'll grab a pamphlet and do a cool YouTube video on reviewing the chameleon care pamphlet. They were out of pamphlets, so I was trying to find an employee. I ended up talking to the manager of the reptile department, and we're talking about their veiled chameleon setup, and it wasn't your typical Petco weird box thing that they do. It was a bird setup that they had that they converted into a chameleon enclosure, which was better because it was more spacious. Neptune's moving, but it was still super incorrect and lots of things wrong with it. So I'm chatting with the guy. There's reptile carpet in there. I was like, hey, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Blah blah blah, and we're chatting, and he's kind of listening to me, but kind of not. And I'm talking about how it's super common for people to get veiled and then be told the incorrect gender. And he's like, yeah, it's because we're unable to sex them as babies. And I was like, actually, you can. Would you like to learn how? And he's like, oh, no, you can't. I'm like, yeah, you can. I'll teach you. And so then I did, and we're getting to chat. And this is the funny part. I asked him, have you heard of the YouTube channel Neptune the Chameleon? And he's like, oh, yeah, I totally have. And I'm like, really? Because I'm Neptune the Chameleon. If you've I have red hair, right? That's very memorable, and if you've seen any of my videos, I feel you would know it was me just because of my hair. So you just the look on this guy's face, he's obviously he liked me, saying that he knew Neptune the Chameleon YouTube channel, and obviously didn't, but anyways, I don't know if I got through to him. I don't know if he's gonna remember anything I told him, but that was kind of funny. Needless to say, I was late to getting dinner with my friends, so there you go. Not that you guys asked for it, but figured something a little different than just me answering all your questions. How many times a week or month can I hold my chameleon? I wouldn't recommend more than once a week, and really I hold my chameleon probably Neptune's once a month tops, and Apollo and Luna's twice a month tops. And if I hold my chameleon, really just they climb onto my arm and then climb onto their tree. I don't actually hold them or anything, so very minimally. There's no reason to hold them. Be respectful of the animal, and I always say it's like having a pet fish, right? They're more of a look at pet than one you interact with. Let's see. Do panther chameleons have to eat roaches? No, but they're a great option. Let's see. Thank you so much for the helpful information. I love your channel. Please keep up the great work. Thank you, Julian. That's super sweet. If I send a picture of my chameleon enclosure, can you tell me pros and cons? I recently just updated his cage this week and don't want to overdo it. No, you can send me a DM on Instagram at Neptune the Chameleon. All that I ask is that if you're familiar with my YouTube channel, you spend some time to watch the videos and make the changes that are suggested in the video. It can be a little frustrating when someone says I've seen all your videos, here's my enclosure, and obviously nothing that I talk about is implemented. So please just be respectful of my time and your time as well, and just do your best to make as many improvements and changes as you can, and when you feel comfortable and confident, then you can ask for my advice. Let's see. I've got a 6-month-old veiled. He hates me when I try to take him out. Is it super imperative to raise the enclosure off the floor? Maybe it will make him more comfortable. Absolutely. So if you can see, my enclosures are up off the ground. Chameleons are arboreal, which means they like to climb, which also means that height is safety for them. So when we're towering over them, then we're this big scary predator. But when we can be eye level, or the chameleon can sit higher than us, then that makes them feel safer. It's also why you see people when they take out their chameleons, that their chameleons like climb up to the top of their head because they're trying to get up high to feel safe. So I would definitely recommend raising your enclosure off the ground. How to tell if a baby chameleon is male or female, because I just got a baby panther chameleon. So panther chameleons are a little more difficult to sex as babies. And typically you can tell around 4 to 5 months old based off of their coloring. Excuse me, Neptune. You're making noise. So it's really hard to tell out of the egg. If you want to know, the way you tell is from the base of the tail. If there's a hemipenal bulge, it's a male. If there's no hemipenal bulge, it's a female. But you really have to learn. You have to train your eye how to look for it, and most people can't get it right. So I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but I would wait till they're a little bit older to tell. Super grateful for your videos, very helpful. Thank you, Derek. Let's see. I have a Jackson female. She recently got 3 black spots by her mouth. Hold on. The comment disappeared. I've noticed it's bothering her, like itching. What should I do? Husbandry is A1. Can you send me a picture on Instagram? It's hard to just say off of what 3 black spots. If you can, DM me Neptune the Chameleon. Do chameleons usually prefer and only like one owner? Some do, some don't. I live by myself, so my chameleons don't really interact with anyone. But Paul and Luna are pretty indifferent to people, and Neptune's a big scaredy cat, and I think he does recognize me more so than other people because I am the one that has the tree bugs. And I know some people for sure, their chameleons recognize their owners, but I can't say that's for all chameleons because Paul and Luna could care less. Congratulations on 1 million. Thank you so much. I know you've been a big fan of my channel and big supporter, so I appreciate all the support throughout all the videos. Let's see. How big should my 6-month chameleon be? I mean, it's arbitrary. Every chameleon's different, but probably like, that was my arm, like yay big, somewhere in there. Pretty decent size, but not full grown. Definitely not full grown yet. They'll get longer and fill out more. Okay, Reagan, I'm going to give you a warning. Stop asking the same question, please. It clutters the chat and makes it hard for me to get to everyone's. How do I tell if I have a male or female? I just got a baby chameleon. If you have a veiled chameleon, you can tell by their back feet. More often than not, if there's a little bump, then that's what's called a tarsal spur, and it's going to be a male. Sometimes females can have a tarsal spur, but if there's no bump, then you know for sure it's a female. Let's see. Let's see. Do plants still do well without an LED light? Yeah, I had my plants in my enclosure for 2 years before bringing in an LED light, so depends on the plant. Let's see. Handling chameleons does not stress him unnecessarily. It ensures he is socialized in case of a medical treatment. So I agree that like handling chameleons is an important thing, and like I made sure I was able to handle all my chameleons in case of emergency, but I don't think it's necessary to be handling your chameleon on a daily basis. That's just my opinion. One moment. What I commonly see is people who are unaware of the signs of stress in the chameleon, so then they're handling them not realizing that they could be potentially causing stress. Additionally, a lot of people take their chameleons outside of their enclosure for hours and hours and hours and have like a cool free range setup, which is cool, but that means that your chameleon's not getting the UVB exposure that they need and the correct humidity and temperature gradients. So that's another reason why I don't always recommend that you handle your chameleon often, but I would say like 30 minutes at a time or an hour at a time, like that's totally fine. It's when people don't recognize the signs of stress, and then handling them and then having them in, there we go, free range enclosures all the time. So keep in mind, I have to make generalizations on this channel, and keep in mind that the vast majority of my audience are new chameleon keepers, so I do recognize that there are different instances and every chameleon is different, but I can't make general statements of like, you can handle your chameleon all the time, because most of them you can't, so I have to make generalizations for the vast majority of my viewers and followers, which are people who are brand new, who don't know what they're doing yet, who are still learning. So that's why there has to be this education. And then when you feel comfortable in your chameleon knowledge, then you can make whatever decisions you want with your chameleon, because hopefully by then you understand the importance of UVB, temperature, humidity, all of that, and you have a strong understanding of chameleon behavior. So take it all with a grain of salt, you know? I'm only one person. Let's see. Most of the info I see online is anecdotal at best. Can you tell me use of scientific sources of information on chameleon keeping? So Julian, I would recommend going to chameleonacademy.com. This is ran by Bill Strand. While he's not a scientist himself per se, he does interview scientists on his podcast, and they go out out in the wild to Madagascar and do field studies and do scientific studies in the laboratories and stuff like that. So he's able to compile all that information into his podcast and website. So that's really good. If you go to chameleonforums.com, Kinyoga, I think that's how you pronounce her name, Kinyonga, I think. She's a user on the forums, and she's always posting scientific articles about chameleons. So those would be my 2 recommendations. Let's see. Are you going to do another chameleon cage reaction anytime soon? Will I do another one? Yes. Will it be soon? Absolutely not. The last one took me 2 months to make. I filmed that back in May and asked for submissions in mid-May, and I didn't post it till mid-July. So that was really time consuming for me to do. Obviously beneficial for you guys, but it'll be a while before I do another one. So yeah. Any plants you recommend for the baby panther? Pothos. Pothos is my ¡1 plant recommendation always. Are you getting another chameleon anytime soon? No, definitely not. I just rehoused my male veiled. He's not basking like usual. Will he eventually get over the stress? Yes. Give him about 2 weeks to get settled into his new enclosure. My baby chameleon fell earlier today. Do you think he should be okay? We plan on doing a video about chameleons and falling, but the gist of it is a healthy chameleon should be able to take a fall without any issues. They fall in the wild. They actually will throw themselves off of a branch as a defense mechanism. So a healthy chameleon should be fine. That's not to say they won't have injuries, so just make sure you monitor your chameleon. Make sure there's no swelling or broken bones, and that they're walking okay. The issue is when the chameleon is unhealthy, maybe they have MBD or they're underweight or something like that, and then they fall, because then they're falling probably because they have difficulty grasping onto the branches. What are you doing? I can hear him climbing around. So an unhealthy chameleon will be falling for the wrong reasons and can potentially hurt themselves because they'll be weaker. But just monitor your chameleon. Neptune's fallen a few times when he was trying to climb outside his enclosure and grabbed onto the slippery bit and wasn't able to hold on to it. So it happens. Just make sure you keep an eye on it. One moment. Water break. No, I'm joking. Neptune! You can't see, but he's hanging upside down in his enclosure. Okay. At what age specifically do they start to eat less? Because I'm a 9-month-old and he's eating a little less but still looks healthy. I would say right around 9 months is when people typically recommend to start cutting back on food, but you can see as early as 6 months. And some chameleons just won't regulate their food at all, and they'll just eat as much as they can for forever. So I would say now is a perfect time to start cutting back to 3 to 4 bugs every 2 to 3 days is the general recommendation. Can you guys see him? He's climbing up there. I used to work at a pet store and love watching your channel and helping others with the info that you provide. Thank you, and I would always recommend they watch your channel if they need more info. Thank you, Jacqueline. That's super sweet. I appreciate it. I remember when you first got your chameleon and we messaged a lot. So happy to hear that your chameleon's doing well. What age should I expect my panther egg layer to start laying infertile eggs? As early as 6 months. but probably closer to 8 to 12 months. It depends kind of on their temperature and their food and all that good stuff, but I would get a laying bin in there as soon as they're 6 months old, if not sooner. There's no harm in putting one in earlier. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Question, is it okay to feed my chameleon every day 4 hours right before the lights go off, working graveyard with my job? So Robin Hood Jr., I'm going to say no. Reason for this is chameleons need time to eat their food, bask, and digest. What you could do is, before you leave for your graveyard shift, is put some bugs into a cup. So then when your chameleon wakes up in the morning, then the bugs will be waiting for them, and then they're already gut loaded, supplemented, ready to go. That's the beauty of cup feeding, so you can put them in there prior. So like sometimes when I have to work early in the morning, I will put them in the night before. So then I will leave and the chameleons will still be asleep, but then when they wake up, their bugs are there waiting for them. So that's something you can do, but you want to avoid feeding them that late because then they won't necessarily have time to digest and things like that. So there you go. Hi, I'm getting a chameleon. Is it okay if I have him out a lot? Hi, Amanda. So I'm going to say no, but okay, I'll say no and I'll explain why, and then I'll say in which scenario you could. So the reason I say no is because if you see the enclosures behind me, these are strategically and very carefully set up to have the correct UVB gradient, temperature gradient, and humidity levels in this enclosure. If I take my chameleon outside the enclosure, it is no longer getting the UVB temperatures and humidity that it needs to thrive. So if you do want to have your chameleon out all the time, then you need to provide UVB temperature and humidity for your chameleon outside their enclosure. So that's the reason why I say don't have them out all the time, because then they're not getting everything that they benefit from being inside their enclosure. Can you breed different chameleon species? No. They're different species for a reason. It's just biologically impossible. Hi, I love your channel. If it wasn't for you, I'm not sure my chameleon would be in as good a shape as she is. You have great videos full of awesome information. Thank you, Bailey. Super nice message. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. What does this say? Hope you're doing well. Your chameleons are awesome. My favorite is definitely Luna. She's a cutie. Luna says thank you. I don't know where she is. Somewhere back there. She's like right behind where my chair is, so you guys can't see her, but she's like right there. She says thank you. My female veiled is a year old and still hasn't laid eggs or been gravid. There has been a lay-bin. So Alex, that's okay. That's actually probably a good thing, because then they're not having to deal with the stress of it. So if your temperatures are on the lower side, around 80, and you're not feeding a lot, then you should be able, this is why we're recommending this in the hobby right now, should be able to not only decrease the amount of eggs, but you should be able to prolong when your chameleon lays eggs. And some people think that if you can get the temperatures in the right spot with the right amount of food, then you can stop a chameleon from laying eggs altogether. This isn't like super solid. This is just kind of the idea behind it and why this is recommended to help lower the stress on the female's body. So don't worry, just pay attention to the signs of a gravid chameleon, and then make sure that your laying bin is big enough and deep enough and set up correctly, so that's not an issue if she does decide to lay eggs. Let's see. I have a juvenile veiled chameleon named Clyde. He's in the same size cage as Neptune. How long should I keep the mister on? So wildflowers, if you have this size cage, that doesn't really matter on your misting schedule. What more matters is your general humidity levels. So that's going to be dependent on where you live. If you live somewhere that's more humid than me, then you're going to be misting less often. If you live somewhere that's drier than me, then you're going to be misting more often. So what works for me and my environment probably isn't going to be the same for you in your environment. The general recommendation, that being said, is 2 to 4 minutes in the morning and 2 to 4 minutes in the evening before your lights turn on and after your lights turn off, because we want to avoid hot, humid environments, and we want to have cool, humid environments. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So try that. Twice a day, 2 to 4 minutes when the lights are off, and see how that goes and if that gives you the humidity levels that you need. How can I tell the age of my rescue female veiled chameleon? If they are an adult, then there's really no way to tell. If they're younger than adult, then try and look at pictures of other chameleons and see their coloration, because their size and their colors kind of indicate their age. But once they're an adult, then like you don't know if they're 2 years old or 5 years old. Like they look the same, so that's hard to tell. Let's see what else we got. Just read through these. What time would you recommend to have the lights turned on and off? So you want to have your lights on for about 12 hours and off for 12 hours, but find what works for you. Somewhere around like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 7:30 to 7:30, 9 to 9. It kind of just depends on you, but if you have a timer, then I try to replicate it as close to the outside lights as possible. Someone was asked if they could have the lights on from like 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. But I'm like, it's going to be dark outside, and then it's going to be light inside, so like try and have it most similar to the actual sun, not 1 p.m. That's like not what we're going for. Let's see, how long should basking lights be on? I just answered that. Let's see. Is it normal for a Uri to have a little orange in the tip? It's not full orange, just a little tip. Yep, that's fine. You can have up to 50% orange Uri. Anything more than that, give them another poop or two and then adjust their hydration cycle if need be. Let's see. Wow, look at you guys. Bailey's answering some questions in here. Thanks for the assist. Let's see. My question chameleon loves to eat her plants and they die. What's a good way to keep live plants alive the longest? Try to replace them before she eats them to the point where they die, and then let her eat some of the leaves and stuff, and then take it out, let it kind of recover, put another one in, and then kind of swap them, rotate them, see if that'll work. But just know, if she's eating live plants, that's better than if she was eating fake plants and then potentially getting impacted. So good job for having live plants, but that would be my recommendation. None of my chameleons have eaten a plant to the point where it died, but that's what I would do if I was you. Can I have 2 chameleons in a huge cage? Amanda, the answer is no. The reason being, if they can see each other, they're stressing each other out. If you notice, there's a visual barrier. These are solid sides on either side, so none of my chameleons can see each other at all. So even if this was one giant cage, the whole thing, what would that be, 2, 4, 6 feet wide, that they could still see each other and they could still get to each other if need be. So you would want to have separate enclosures and you want to have a visual barrier between the two. Let's see, I'm super glad my enclosure made it into your enclosure video. I was one with the rescue chameleon enclosure. Your videos are so helpful in my journey to my cam's perfect husbandry. Angelica, were you the one that had the one that was in the tiny chameleon kit? You sent me a picture of that, of this is what he was in before, and then you're and this is what he's in now, and I was like, hey, see this? This is a good example. If that was you, awesome. If that wasn't you, then I don't remember who you are. You have to remember there was over 80 enclosures, so yeah, and I also filmed that 2 months ago, so go easy on my memory. Have you heard of Fram's cams? Yes, I actually DM Fram's cams semi-regularly. We sent each other a DM yesterday. So yeah, I'm familiar with Fram's cams and a few other breeders in the business. I have nothing but good things to say about Fram's cams. They seem to be excellent breeders and take good care of their chameleons and seem to have the best of intentions. So kudos to them. Alright, what else we got? My only thing is it really stresses her out to have to change her environment a lot. That's true. Plus the process is stressful as I have to handle her and put her in a box or a smaller enclosure. So Bailey, what you could do, I'm able to adjust the enclosures without taking my chameleons out. Typically Neptune's my most scared chameleon, and he literally just runs to a corner, sits there, and then I just do a bunch of stuff in his enclosure, and then he's fine. That yes, it's stressing him out for sure, but in my opinion that's way less stressful they may try to get him out of his enclosure because he's not about that. So maybe you could try just kind of working around her and see if that works. You don't have to try and handle her and stress her out that way. Just an idea. Oh, Angelica says, yes, that's me. Awesome. Okay, hold on. Gauge the Rage 28. You're getting put in timeout. Aha. I think I did it. There's a put a user in timeout button, so that's what happens if you spam my chat. Let's see what else we got. What should I start taking my chameleon to the vet just for a checkup? I would, if you haven't already, get a fecal test for your chameleon to check for parasites. And if you've done that, then there's really no reason to get a checkup. I only take my chameleons to the vet if there's a reason to. Like some medical issue comes up. Otherwise, it's typically way more stressful for them, for me to take them out, transport them, take them to the vet. They get handled, whatever, and then bring them back. So unless there's a real reason to, or to get a fecal test, I don't do checkups just as needed or when you first bring your chameleon home. Any other types of reptiles you're interested in keeping? So if you guys don't know, I don't just keep chameleons. And I will answer in about 1 minute, and I will give you a chance to guess in the chat. I've talked about my other reptile before, so some of you may already know what I have. So feel free to guess. You'll get brownie points if you do. If no one guesses right, then I'll just say what I have. But he's like right on the other side of Apollo. Alright. What is your opinion on getting shipped live chameleons? I'm thinking overnight only. Yeah, so chameleons only get shipped overnight, and if a breeder is not shipping overnight, shame on them. But if a chameleon is shipped overnight from a good breeder, so they're already a healthy chameleon, then there's no issues with shipping a chameleon overnight. I've never done it because I've been able to purchase all my chameleons locally, but I know tons of people who do, and lots of breeders who are very good at their jobs and they do it well. So as long as it's from a good breeder, then I see no issues with it. And odds are the next chameleon I buy will be from one of those breeders, and I'll have to deal with it. So I think it's fine. Is it good for me to catch a chameleon or just buy one as a baby? Amanda, you should buy from a reputable breeder, and the chameleon should be at least 3 months old. My baby panther eyeballed my ocelot chameleon across the room and started turning into a T-Rex. Moving his cage now so that doesn't happen again, so he doesn't stress. See? That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't have chameleons in the same enclosure, and you certainly don't want them to be able to see each other because it's just going to stress them out. Like, they're solitary animals. In the wild, they just do their own thing and have their own little territory, so they're not meant to cohabitate, and they're not meant to see each other. It's just not what they deal with. I searched up live stream, and you were the first one to come up. Hello, welcome then, the bridge to Fortnite. We're talking about chameleons, so hope you like chameleons. Well, let's see. How can I get my chameleon to stop hissing at me? Leave them alone. Probably not the answer you wanted. But honestly, like, if they're hissing at you, it's because they're scared of you and telling you to back off. So leave them alone. She will come out if I have superworms, but she bit me trying to get her into a box. Yeah. Anyways. Let's see. People said crested gecko. Yes! So, I do have a crested gecko. Someone asked if I have any other reptiles, and so I have a crested gecko. His name's Pluto. So he fits in with everyone. So I got Neptune first, and then I got Pluto the crested gecko, and then I got Apollo and Luna at the same time. So I now have 4 lizards, 3 chameleons, and a gecko. So, before anyone asks, I will not be making any crested gecko videos. Just, I'm not interested in doing that. Let's see, I'm not sure what kind of questions we can ask, but what made you get into reptiles? You can ask me any questions related to reptiles. I just ask that you avoid asking me questions about my personal life, because I won't answer them anyways. So, I got into reptiles because I saw a picture of a panther chameleon on the internet, and you guys know how cool they look, and I was like, wow, like, that's super cool. And then I started doing all this research on what it entailed, and then I found out that I was moving halfway across the country, so I was like, oh, like, I'm not gonna get a chameleon if I have to move anyways, you know? So the idea kind of fell on the back burner. I move, I get settled into my new place, like a year goes by, and I'm just like driving around town, and I see this like local reptile shop, and I was like, what is this? So like I go in there, and sure enough, they had baby panther chameleons, along with like bajillion other reptiles. It's like an actual reptile store. That's like exclusively what they do. And so that just like re-sparked it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember when I was like super into chameleons. So then I redid all my research. So it was probably like 2 years of research, and then I got Neptune, and the rest is history. So yeah, I love other reptiles, you know, snakes, lizards, turtles. Like I would love a sulcata tortoise one day. Like don't think I'll ever get one just because of their age and size, but like I love other reptiles, but my true passion is with chameleons, and I want to be mindful of like what I have the space for and whatnot. So like this is why I limit myself to the animals that I do have now. But I love going to expos, and I have lots of friends in the reptile hobby who have tons and tons of species, so I love learning about them. But I'm kind of someone who just like hones in on one thing and just like learns a lot about that one thing, and that was chameleons. So I know a lot about chameleons, and I just have a general interest across other species. But people will DM me, they're like, hey, like what UVB do I need for my bearded dragon? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a bearded dragon. I don't know what they need. So yeah, or people will DM me and they're like, hey, do you breed leopard geckos? And I'm like, no, I'm not sure. What about my page indicates that I sell leopard geckos? But no, I don't do that. So anyways, that's how I got into it. My opinion on CB reptiles. Maybe I should do a video on like bad breeders, but CB reptiles would be in that. If you don't know, CB reptiles is notorious for having wild caught animals, and whenever I get a DM from someone and they like send me a picture of like a sick chameleon, my very first question is, where did you buy it? And I'd say majority of the time it's from backwater reptiles or from CB reptiles, and the chameleon dies within hours, if not days, because it's already sick. And they're typically wild caught, they typically have parasites, they're typically on death's door, and then those companies will immediately just send them a new sick chameleon, and they will send them, or tell them the incorrect supplies and the incorrect husbandry, and then I'm the one who has to go and like clean up their mess and like teach someone how to actually care for a chameleon correctly. And it's just heartbreaking for that person because they get attached to the chameleon and then it dies, and then they feel like it's their fault, but it's not their fault because like they bought a sick chameleon but they didn't know any better, so then they feel bad, and then all the supplies they have are wrong. So it's just, I would not recommend them in a million years, ever. You're better off not having any chameleon versus one from someone who sells wild caught animals. So there you go. Sorry, I went on a little tangent, but there you have it. Let's see. Why is Neptune mostly green right now? Not so colorful. Just curious. These are his resting colors. This is how he is 95% of the time, and then he's his bright colors when he's sleeping or fired up. So that's what he looks like most of the time. What does it mean if you see a chameleon trembling? So if your chameleon is walking like this, like that, that's called the leaf walk, and it's them trying to imitate a leaf on a branch to not cause attention from predators. So it's normal. If they're actually like trembling, then that can be a sign of metabolic bone disease and other sicknesses, and you should take them to the vet. Okay. My veiled chameleon has white hands but only has front and almost not noticeable. Do you think that's a piebald gene? Yes. It's called translucent veiled chameleon, and you can see it typically on their legs and on their heads. You'll see patches of pink and white. What was your first ever pet? So my pet that I owned, I purchased with my own money, was a betta fish. One that I got to call my own before that when I was a kid was a gerbil, and then we always had dogs growing up, but they were more like my mom's dogs and the family's dogs. I feel like the first pet that I had where I did all the appropriate research and bought everything myself was my chameleons, if we're not counting fish, because this was a betta fish, which I feel like everyone owns a betta fish at some point. But yeah, and if I'm going to do something, I do it right. so I went big and got Neptune the chameleon, and the rest is history. How often should I handle my chameleons? Not super often is the gist of it. I've talked about this a few times, so please watch back on the video. I've talked about it a couple times now. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through. If you have the best channel for info, hands down. Thank you. I'll feed the fish. That's super sweet. Oh, David, sorry. So he said that they ordered a Tomatov through them. So David, if you can, get a refund. Like, I think they only do partial refunds, but honestly, it's not worth it. Like, take the hit. Take the loss of the money. You will have a sick chameleon. Like, it's not worth it. They typically also sell chameleons too young, so I would just like get out of that as best you can and just recognize I don't think they do 100% refunds, which to me indicates that like this happens a lot, right? Like, why won't you give me a full refund if you haven't even sent the animal? So yeah, I'm sorry to break it to you, but better now than like you deal with a sick animal or parasites or vet trips or a dead chameleon. Like, literally people have bought from them and they get shipped a dead animal. Or the chameleon literally lasts for hours. People DM me, like, I've had this chameleon for 4 hours, what did I do wrong? I'm like, there's no way you can, like, have a chameleon get sick in 4 hours without, like, having poor care before that. So you need to purchase from someone who has strong genetics, who takes care of not only the parents, that's important, but also the baby from the moment they come out of the egg. Those are the most fundamental times. I'm going to go on another tangent here. People will buy the chameleon kit and have this like half-assed enclosure and be like, hey, is this good enough since they're just a baby, and I'll like change it when they get older? I'm like, no, you're not gonna feed your kid McDonald's like every single day and cupcakes every single day and have them like not be taken care of correctly because they're a kid, but like, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of them okay when they're an adult. Like, no, these are the fundamental years. This is when correct bone development happens in your chameleon, organ development. Like, your chameleon needs to be taken care of properly from the beginning, not when they're older. It's more important now than it is when they're older. Really, you should take care of your chameleon correctly all the time. But you get what I'm saying? Like, you want to purchase from someone who is taking good care of your chameleon from day one, because you're going to have to deal with all the negative consequences that come with someone taking improper care for the first 3 to 4 months of their life. Just my 2 cents, which is why I think it's worth it to take the loss on the deposit. I think they'll give you like 50% back or something like that. Worth it though, really, to buy from a good breeder. Also, if it's a cheap chameleon, it's for a reason. Panther chameleons right now are going for around $400 minimum. So if you're buying a Panther chameleon for $200 or less, somewhere in there, there's a reason for it, and it's not a good reason. So pay the extra, get the good chameleon, and if that's too expensive for you, then a chameleon may not be the best pet for you. Because the animal itself is the cheapest part of keeping a chameleon, because this enclosure behind me is a couple $100, right? It's going to be more expensive than the animal itself. The vet trip will be more expensive than the animal itself. Neptune was $275. I got him like a few years ago when chameleon prices were much lower. And I went to the vet and spent $400 at the vet on one trip with Neptune. So when I say you will spend more at the vet than the cost of the animal, I mean it, right? That was like blood work that he had to get done, the works, right? So anyways, I digress. I'll stop talking about that, but just my 2 cents. Let's see. Has Luna laid infertile eggs yet? No. Parsons chameleons don't lay frequent clutches like other species, like veils of panthers do. So she most likely won't just lay infertile eggs. Just not something that Parsons chameleons do frequently. It does happen, but nowhere near as often as like with veils and panthers. Okay. What is your favorite type of chameleon? Lately, I've been really eyeballing Mellors chameleons. I would love to own a Mellors one day, but they're not super common in captivity. How do you know if your chameleon is constipated? They don't poop for a few weeks. Although Neptune went like 3 weeks without pooping. But then he did eventually, so it's fine. Any breeders you recommend? Okay, again, I don't like recommending specific breeders because there are a bunch of good ones. I don't want to just like limit to just these ones, but Camouflage Creations has been breeding panther chameleons probably the longest time of anyone. They do their business very, very well. Framscams has been getting a lot of popularity lately, but they do an excellent job with their chameleons and have a big social media presence, so that works in their favor. And then I want to give a shout out to Surfing Oak Chameleons because they gave me footage for the egg laying video that I made. It's their chameleon that's like digging down and digging eggs because like I don't have a female panther to like show you guys that happening. So I want to shout out Surfing Oak Chameleons because they helped me out with that video and I couldn't have done it without them. So yeah, what are some signs that a chameleon is about to lay eggs? Number one sign is gravid colors. Gravid is the reptile word for pregnant. So watch my video, the one I was just talking about, and that'll show you that. And then if they come down to the bottom, if they stop eating, if they get bigger, those are like the most common ones. Do you know if TK chameleons is a reputable breeder? Would there be a problem with offspring of a wild caught? Offspring from a wild caught chameleon should be fine. Should be fine. Typically was that captive born versus captive bred. I would still get them tested for parasites. I have not talked to TK chameleons, so I don't know how they care for their chameleons, so I can't say with confidence. But like I just said a couple minutes ago, there are tons of great breeders. You just have to do your research. Make sure they can show you pictures of the parents. Ask them to show you their enclosures. Grill them with questions. What's your UVB? What's your supplement schedule? If they don't know those answers or they're not willing to ask or answer those questions, don't go with them. If they can answer those questions and they're the answers that line up to how you plan on caring for your chameleon, then it's probably a good breeder. So there are definitely lots of small breeders out there. Can I play video games with my chameleons in their cage in my room? Yes. Is dried paint on wood furniture harmful if I put it in the enclosure? I would just waterproof it. What did I use? It's like that waterproof spray. Some flex something. I don't know, it's on my cage build video, but I would try and waterproof your paint just in case. For the last 2 days, my chameleon is sleeping and staying in the same place high up in a corner. I would say that's not good. Chameleons should not be sleeping during the day. It's typically a sign of sickness or stress. Let's see. Don't get me started with Florida wild cams. Started with a breeder who released his cams on an apple orchid, then started a contest to catch him, and then got out of control. National Geographic did a short doc. Yeah, I actually I watched that. It's on YouTube, right? The craziness of Florida wild caught chameleons. So yeah, that's all bananas. Hey Mason's Morphs, how's it going? What's the best cage diameter for an adult chameleon? 24 inches by 24 inches by 48 inches tall. My battery is running low, guys. We're gonna have to wrap this up. How often should someone do a deep clean on their enclosure? I've never deep cleaned any of my enclosures. I just spot clean as needed. I know it's stressful to take everything out and rearrange the chameleon enclosure, so I avoid doing that. What's the lifespan of a panther versus a veiled? They're typically 5 to 7 years, but hopefully longer as we learn more. What are all the supplement schedules? So Katie, I would recommend watching my supplement video. I'm running out of time, but I have a whole video that goes into that, so check that out. Is a 20-foot UVB enough for an extra large reptile breeze? Yes. How many times do you take your chameleons to the vet a year? Only as needed, so not often. Flex Seal, thank you, Mason's Morph, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so use Flex Seal on any wood or paint inside your enclosure to waterproof it. What would be the right time to get your and it died? Okay, the question was get your chameleon tested for parasites. And the answer would be as soon as you get it. And if you have never gotten your chameleon tested, I would do it as soon as possible because you want to be safe and sorry. I have no idea what you guys are saying because I can't see because my tablet died. But that's going to be a wrap on this. So I just want to say thank you guys for 1 million views. That's crazy. I started this channel just because I got tired of typing novels on the Chameleon forums and answering people's questions that way. So I was like, hey, I should just make a video. Plus chameleons are super visual. And then people can have correct information on YouTube because I was getting tired of seeing incorrect care information all over YouTube. So that's how this all started, but I couldn't have done it without you guys and your support and sharing my videos and commenting and viewing my videos. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is amazing. So 1 million down, next up 2 million. So I just want to say thank you again and for tuning in for this live Q&A. And I hope you guys have a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are. And I'll see you guys in the next video. So thanks guys. Bye.